On this episode of Cool Stuff, I'm taking to the air to experience the U.S. military's strange new war machine. The world's first plane and chopper combo.
It's not an experimental aircraft anymore.
It's an incredible feat of aerodynamics, and it's a ride I'll never forget.
It's the most unique vehicle I've ever seen.
And take a look at this. You won't believe your eyes. It's not magic. You're actually seeing air move. Where it's going, what it's doing. Get ready to discover an invisible world. But I don't need to see this jet stream coming at me at hurricane speed. It's about the most fun you can have, almost staying upright. This is cool air. The world is full of cool stuff. I'm Steve Truitt.
How come I'm not feeling any heat?
And I want to know how it works. I'll be riding the leading edge of innovation, pulling apart today's hottest technologies, and presenting them in ways you've never imagined. Join me on a journey into the hidden world of cool stuff. I'm inside the Sky Venture wind tunnel in Denver, Colorado, riding the fierce air currents generated by massive 1,200 horsepower fans. I'm getting a crash course in the aerodynamic principles behind every plane and helicopter. My flight instructor is Rusty Lewis.
So this is a pretty sophisticated system. It's not just some fan blowing.
No, it's very sophisticated. There's a lot of thought gone into the design of the building to make it what it is, and as efficient as it is, and as fast as it is.
Without wind tunnels, we wouldn't be jetting off on vacations or shuttling astronauts into space. In fact, the wind tunnel helped the Wright brothers create their first plane. But vertical wind tunnels, or VWTs, open a whole new world of aerodynamics. Skydiving in a bottle. It must take some pretty cool physics to pull off this killer joyride.
Okay, so how does this actually work? I know that there's a big giant fan down there, but I don't see it.
Actually, the fan is not on the floor. There's 4 fans, and they're actually positioned at the top of the building.
Oh, up here?
Yeah, so the way it works is, as you can see where the flight chamber is here, the flying portion of it where the glass is, the wind comes through the flight chamber, goes to the top of the building, and then pretty much separates into 2 columns.
Okay.
And that's where it goes through the fans, so it's pretty much sucking the air up.
The key to my flight is a powerful laminar flow, a jet of smooth air to generate maximum lift. It starts with the fans. They suck in outside air, then kick it sideways at around 30 miles an hour. Now the airstream's got to take a hard 90-degree turn, and it's got to do it without creating turbulence, which would reduce the air power. So these turning vanes are aerodynamically designed to bend the airstream smoothly, twisting it downward. More vanes at the bottom twist the airstream again. One more turn, and the airstream is rushing towards me. It's still laminar smooth, but not yet fast enough to make me fly. Now the inlet contractor does its work. The tube narrows sharply, squeezing out the air like toothpaste and quadrupling its speed. It blasts up at 120 miles an hour, roaring into the flight chamber and sending me soaring.
The way we measure it and what we say is that the tunnel draws through about 1 million cubic feet of air per minute.
We're talking hurricane force winds blowing straight at me. They have to be that fast to counteract my terminal velocity. That's the speed at which I fall, when the downward pull of gravity equals the upward force of air resistance. For a skydiver free-falling, terminal velocity is about 120 miles per hour. And that's just what I'm doing here. Endlessly falling, while the upward airflow cancels that out. Now, if I want to go higher or lower, they can vary the wind speed by adjusting the fan power.
It can do just over about 160 miles an hour.
Is that like hurricane speed? I mean,
Pretty much.
Category 5?
When you're flying, it's about the same.
So now we're playing with some more aerodynamics. Make yourself broader, you create more drag or air resistance, and you get more lift. When you reduce your profile, gravity gains the upper hand and you drop. You gotta get the balance just right for smooth sailing. But when you do, you feel like you've mastered the science of flight.
Rusty, thank you so much for your training. This is like the ultimate rush. Everyone has to do this.
There's something new in the air. And it's flying my way. I'm just outside of Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, home of the 58th Special Operations Wing. And this aircraft is what makes the Special Operations Wing so special. The Osprey, a powerful new war machine that's part plane, part helicopter, and all techno-muscle. I've been given high-level clearance by Kirtland's Special Operations Commander, Colonel Todd Lovell, to join a mock rescue mission. Here I am, stuck out here in the middle of nowhere. The plan is that Colonel Todd Lovell is going to swoop in the Osprey and come pick me up. The Osprey is soaring towards me at more than 300 miles an hour, twice as fast as the quickest helicopter in the U.S. military fleet. And although it's part plane, it doesn't need a runway to touch down. From plane to chopper, in the time it takes for me to finish this sentence. Now that's cool.
The first time I saw one flying, the thing that impressed me the most about it was the speed.
It's this perfect combination of speed and flexibility that makes the Osprey so valuable for dangerous wartime missions.
The primary mission of the airplane is to move combat-equipped Marines from either the sea base or a forward operating base directly to the objective area.
With twice the speed of a Black Hawk and 5 times the range, the Osprey will also be the ultimate rescue platform in the heat of battle.
The medevac people will tell you about the thing called the golden hour, you know, the need to get a wounded Marine from the point where he's wounded to forward resuscitative care as rapidly as possible within that first hour. And, you know, pretty easy to envision how an airplane that flies 250 knots is going to save a lot more lives than an airplane that flies 110 knots.
Plus, the Osprey comes fitted with its own heat-seeking missile defense capability. Built into its exhaust system are infrared suppressors. They mix cool outside air with the hot engine exhaust, so the Osprey's trail goes cold before the heat seekers can lock on. But if enemy gunfire or mechanical failure does cripple an engine, the Osprey can still fly with just one working rotor. Another threat to pilots and crew comes from this. Blinding dust storms called brownouts that are kicked up by the rotors. Brownouts have caused most of the military chopper crashes in Iraq and Afghanistan. But the Osprey has infrared cameras feeding its cockpit display, so pilots can see through that blinding dust as if it wasn't there. It's taken more than 50 years for science to truly deliver the dream of a tilt-rotor aircraft. The first attempt, the Bell XV-3, took its maiden flight in 1955. But with a 450 horsepower engine, the XV-3 was underpowered and it only flew a few feet off the ground. By 1973, NASA made progress with the XV-15, which finally led to the V-22 program and the Osprey's 20-year gestation. Engineers had finally figured out a way of combining two types of aerodynamics: the fixed wing of a plane and the rotating wing of a helicopter. Here's the difference. A fixed wing gets its lift by moving forward through the air, creating lower pressure above the wing and higher pressure below. It pushes up, and that's lift. In a chopper, the blades are really just a circular wing, creating the same lift effect. But because the wing is spinning, the aircraft doesn't have to move forward. It can hover. Now, the Osprey has both 38-foot rotors and an 84-foot wing. The trick is to switch from one mode to the other without falling out of the sky. The way you do it is gradually tilting the propellers from vertical to horizontal. That way, as the lift is lost from the blades, it's taken up by the wing. The blades start acting like propellers, pulling the aircraft forward and creating lift along the wing.
It's not a choice of either being in a hover or being in airplane mode. The airplane can fly in anywhere in between. So anywhere in between, there's a certain percentage of the lift that's being borne by the rotor system and a certain percentage being borne by the wing.
The Osprey's tilt engines are massive Allison Rolls-Royce turbo shaft models, each cranking out 6,150 horsepower. Some of this power is transferred to a mid-wing gearbox that drives the tilting mechanism. The engines are also interconnected, so if one goes down, the other can drive both sets of rotors. Each engine gearbox combo is called a nacelle. And when the Osprey morphs from helicopter to plane, the nacelles move through 90 degrees in as little as 15 seconds, with the roll of a pilot's thumb.
I will say that the whole transition from helicopter mode to airplane mode is virtually carefree.
The Osprey is the most wired military chopper ever built, with no mechanical connections between controls and machinery. It's fly-by-wire, with a computer system interpreting every pilot move. This keeps every maneuver within safe physical limits. When I saw the military's new tilt-rotor V-22 Osprey in action, I did what any techno freak would do. I begged to fly it. Well, the top Pentagon brass said yes and no. They didn't exactly trust me with one of these $90 million war machines, but they did give me rare access to this training simulator at Kirtland Air Force Base.
Hey Steve, this is our CV-22 flight simulator.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It looks brand new, too.
Yeah, it's awesome. We use it to train our pilots and our flight engineers before they step in our aircraft.
Looks pretty real out there, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've got a great database, and you'll get to see all kinds of different scenarios out there.
My first order? Get us off the ground. The nacelles are pointed straight up, so adding thrust will lift us like a helicopter.
And why don't you try to pick it up into about a 30-foot hover.
It's starting to already move forward.
Yeah, that's because you had your nacelles at 83.
Where do I want
them? Take those nacelles back to more of a hover nacelle, about 87 nacelle.
Seems I jumped the gun on the forward tilt angle. It's amazing, just a few degrees of adjustment and the Osprey starts turning into a plane. And it's so easy. The fly-by-wire computer system gives even a newbie like me a steady hand.
You see the prop rotors on your side?
Sure do.
You can see them coming down in the sim.
Yep. And now we're flying.
Okay. And you're in airplane mode now. You can see, and that was pretty timid as well, but we're already up at 240 knots ground speed.
You're kidding.
At this speed, the wings are doing all the lifting, and those 6,000 horsepower engines are dedicated to pulling me through the air. This is where the Osprey trumps any chopper. Most helicopters top out at around 150 miles an hour. In fact, it's impossible for one to fly faster than 250. That's because the rotor tips would need to travel faster than the speed of sound. And no rotor blade has ever been invented that could withstand that speed. But I gotta keep my mind on the job here. This is the tricky part. Ask any pilot. Landing.
Okay, we've got 3 down, or we've got our gear down, 3 green, and we're ready for landing. Got our nacelles where they need to be, and now you just need to set her down. You got your road picked out. You can raise that nose if you need to.
Okay, I've pulled the nacelles back to within a few degrees of vertical, like a regular chopper. Now I'll ease off the throttle and gently kiss the ground. I hope.
And there, we're on the ground, we're down. Power off, on the brakes, and great job. Did it all by yourself.
Thank you. All right, what's next?
This bird is ready for action, and it's already deployed in the U.S. Marine Medium Tilt Rotor Squadron 263. They call themselves the Thunder Chickens.
It's not an experimental aircraft anymore. In fact, this is the first go-to-war airplane here.
There are so many things in the world we just can't see. Forces that are invisible to human eyes, part of a hidden world. Technology is starting to fill in the blanks. Capturing fleeting moments with high-speed cameras. Revealing heat waves from almost any object with thermal cameras. Or unveiling the nano-world with electron microscopes. Perhaps the most elusive thing is the very air we live in. It's like an invisible ocean, and we're all its fish. Be good to know what was going on, wouldn't it? Well, now we can. This is Schlieren photography, and it's freaking me out. Schleren means streak in German, and that's what we're seeing here. Streaks of light bent by air.
It's like seeing the wind. Normally we can't see the wind, but we can feel it.
A Schlieren camera isn't literally photographing air. It's capturing light distorted by air. But the result is like watching air move. Around anything from an aircraft in a wind tunnel to a potentially fatal gas leak. Just think of the potential. Here's how it works. We all know hot air rises. That's because molecules in heated gas move rapidly, pushing away from each other. This makes the gas less dense and therefore more buoyant than the air around it. This difference in density opens a window to Schlieren photography. See, as it hits air of differing densities, light changes speed. As it does so, it bends, creating a visible distortion.
When we use Schlieren photography, we're seeing changes in density. We're seeing disturbances in the air that are bending light rays.
We observe this phenomenon every time we see a mirage. Hot air is distorting light differently from cold air. Same thing when we look at the stars. It's what gives them that twinkle. But how do you capture this phenomenon on video? Here's the trick. Look at this candle. You see a flame. What you don't see is that it's surrounded by moving air, but you will soon. First, we have to capture all the light passing around the candle by using near-perfect mirrors. They focus this light to a point. Then we need to isolate the distorted light from the straight light. Gary uses a razor blade. This blocks out straight light, but distorted light bends around the blade. Suddenly, a whole new world springs to life. We can see the invisible. The hot air churning around a flicker flame. The system works with any gases that are a mix of lighter molecules and heavier ones. Check this out. This is a beaker of acetone. Its vapors are 25% heavier than air, so you can see them falling out. Good to know when you need to put on a face mask. We can actually see the frosty fumes of ice cream. And the spectacular burst of CO2 gas that gives soda its fizz. The heavier the gas, the faster it falls. Seeing is believing.
So the Schlieren technique isn't just mathematical theory, it's a practical instrument. It has lots of applications in industry, in design of industrial devices.
Schlieren imaging gives aeronautical engineers another tool in a wind tunnel without having to use smoke trails.
For aircraft design, the Schlieren technique is used in wind tunnel testing to see the flow of air over a model of an aircraft in order to perfect the design before the actual full-size airplane is built.
And there are many life-saving opportunities as well. Ever wondered how airborne sickness spreads? Take a look at this. Schlieren photography takes the guesswork out of disease analysis. Now we know the average cough spreads germs 6 feet from an infected person. It's good information. Schlieren's analysis can be used to study everything from explosive shockwaves to how a dog's nose can detect landmines. The potential is endless, and it makes for some neat party tricks.
There's no other technical device or camera that does anything like it.
Cool air, a chaotic force to be reckoned with. Its raw power can be channeled for thrills, harnessed for military dominance, or brought to life to reveal our hidden world. See you next time on Cool Stuff.